It's preview season here on the channel, and today it's all about the Duke Blue Devils. What will Manny Diaz year 2 look like out there in Durham? Welcome into the show. This is Armchair Analysis. It is, I don't even know what day it is, to be honest. I think it's Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, July 12th, 2025. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic start to your weekend, a safe start to your weekend. And I thank you all for being here. It's been going really well lately. We've had a lot of interaction, a lot of views, and yeah, I'm just pumped. I think the college football season getting closer. Trying to build this community. We're well over 100 subscribers now. You guys knocked that goal way out of the park. Just continue to grow, continue to produce good content. Today, I think we've got some good stuff. I love this Duke team. I'm excited to talk about them and kind of get into the thoughts for this 2025 season. So, no more chit chat, no more BS. Let's just go ahead and talk about Duke in 2025. This is a team that last year went 9-4, 5-3 in ACC play. 5-3. Those three losses were their only regular season losses. They were unbeaten out of conference, and truly, this was the best Duke's looked in a really long time. Scoring 26.3 points per game, that was 78th in college football. They averaged 24.5 points per game allowed, which was 60th in college football. The biggest difference, the big difference maker for this team last year, turnover margin per game, plus 0.8 per game, which was good for 12th in college football. There weren't many better, especially at the Power 5 level, at creating turnovers. This is a team, I'm going to get a little bit into some stats from last year early. This is a team that created 32 turnover opportunities. And when I say that, that means forced fumbles and interceptions, not fumble recoveries and interceptions. This team forced 19 fumbles last year. 19. They didn't recover all 19, but they forced 19 of them. And they picked off opposing quarterbacks 13 different times. This is a ball hawking unit. This is a Manny Diaz special, is what I like to call this. I mean, and it's fitting, obviously, because that's who's coaching, but I mean, they are ball hawking, good tackling. They just do the fundamental things right, and it's really fun to watch, and it's produced really good football. And building off of what Mike Elko built, we have kind of seen a bit of a surge in Duke's, I guess, stock. Maybe that's the word I want to use. I don't know. I'm not really much of a stocks guy. But this team last year was 30th in recruiting class. That's one of the better that they've had in a really long time. They were number 66 portal class, but they only brought in 9 commitments. The 9 commitments they brought in, I thought, were really good. They bring in Andrew Anthony. They bring in Cooper Barcotti. Josiah Green, Jaden Francois, Caleb Weaver came over from Sam Houston. There's some really good players in this on this roster and in this portal class. And I didn't even mention Darian Mensah, the quarterback now. We'll get through all that. We got offense, defense, the full thing here. But Manny Diaz has kept things going. He just kept rolling after the Mike Elko era. We thought maybe there'd be a fall off. Weren't fully sure. And then Manny Diaz got hired, and I'm going to be honest, I loved it. I thought this was going to be the move. Early returns it is the move for Duke. This team brings back 13 total returning starters. They bring back 7 on the offense, including 4 out of 5 on the offensive line. They return a okay grade in terms of pass blocking as well. 68.7, that's 40th in college football from last year. Or 40th in Power 5 from last year. Power 4, sorry. Run block, 59.9 grade. That was 46th out of 68 Power 4 opponents. Darian Mensah comes in to play quarterback. He's coming from Tulane, replacing Malik Murphy. And I got to be honest, I think this is it. This is where Duke cements themselves. Darian Mensah is a really, really good player. And I think he is more of what they wanted Malik Murphy to be last year. It just didn't work out. Murphy doesn't quite have the mobility I think that Mensah is going to bring to the table. Having a backfield of Darian Mensah and Jaquez Moore, and then whatever they're going to do with wide receivers, because you know there's going to be a lot of motion, backfield motion, stuff like that with this Duke offense. They're going to be pretty fun, I think, to watch and see how they maneuver through games and offensive possessions one by one. Along with Jaquez Moore, you do have Peyton Jones. I think he's going to be the second back, but I think it is 100% Jaquez Moore, and he's going to get probably 60 to 70% of the carries, if I were to guess. Maybe that number comes down again with a better rusher at quarterback in Mensa, but I think Jaquez Moore gets the majority of carries. A wide receiver, I mentioned it, Andrew Anthony, and then Cooper Barcotti comes over from Harvard, Andrew Anthony from Oklahoma. These two guys, I think, are expected to be really solid players. Andrew Anthony just has not found his footing. He started at Michigan, and, I think the most notable play is his long touchdown catch against Michigan State. Beyond that, we haven't seen a lot of Andrew Anthony. He didn't get the run he expected at Michigan. Transferred out, went to Oklahoma, and just didn't have the career, I think, or the years that he was expecting to have there. And then decided, okay, let's find somewhere where I can play and be wide receiver 1. And that's where he lands here at Duke, is I think he's going to be wide receiver 1. You got Quayshawn Brown and Samir Hagans. Those two guys are returning from last year. Samir Hagans was a starter last year. Those two are going to kind of compete to be next in line, I think. Barcotti is going to be a guy who I think competes to be next in line. They have some solid pieces, improvements necessary, especially from the ones that were there, and that's being Brown and Hagans. They've got to get better. They have to be just more reliable targets in the receiving room. If that's the case, I think they'll be in a good spot. And then, of course, they got tight end Jake Taylor returning. He's going to be utilized, I think, a little bit, but I'm really curious about the wide receivers. That's my main focus with this offense, because I think when they figure it out, this whole team is going to be in a much, much better spot. As for the defense, and of course Manny Diaz really runs this thing. 6 returning starters. They have 3 transfers on the defensive side of the ball that at least were notable to me. Josiah Green comes in from Dartmouth. He's going to be on the defensive line. Jaden Francois and Caleb Weaver, the secondary. Francois from Utah State, Weaver from Sam Houston. Those two guys are going to be interesting to watch. Weaver's expected to be kind of a bench role player. How do they fit in to this defense that was really good last year? I mean, they weren't great by any means, but they had moments where it was really fun to watch. Terry Moore, star safety, 71 tackles last year, 4 interceptions. Chandler Rivers is a guy who we really love here, and he had 3 picks last year. Vincent Anthony had 10 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and then multiple players with 2 or more, just 2 forced fumbles, and multiple players with forced fumbles that are returning. This is just a really fun defense. I think they are going to carry Duke, at least through the first few games while they figure out the receiver room. And once they get this receiver room figured out, I think the offense really takes off. Maybe the threat of the quarterback run being a lot more prevalent helps the passing game. Maybe some play action, roll out, get mints out of the pocket, find guys downfield. But this is a really, really fun roster, and it can go either way because it's not necessarily brutal. The schedule is not bad. But before we talk about the schedule, I write a paragraph about every team. This is what I wrote for Duke. This is not a flashy team. Manny Diaz doesn't really want it that way. They're physical, and they have 2 of the best defensive backs in college football, that being Rivers and Moore. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule and give you some predictions. It starts out with that game against Elon, and that's a Thursday night game. I mean, we're not too concerned, I don't think. Illinois, that's going to be a tough game, but that's at home. That's a workable game. We'll talk a little more as we go. Mensa gets the trip back to New Orleans to face his old team, Tulane. We'll see. I love John Summerall. I think he's a great head coach. We'll see how they build. And then your toughest game is obviously Clemson on the road. But you get Syracuse, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, 2 of those 3 on the road. And then really the rest of it's pretty workable. The rest of it, I think you are better on paper than everybody else. Syracuse, Georgia Tech, UNC are teams that I think you're pretty level with. And then again, there's Clemson, who's, I mean, look, they are an early favorite for me as my preseason number 1 team, and I'm not doing ranking until August. But they are an early favorite for me as a preseason top 25 as the number 1. So this is a fun, workable schedule that Duke could land in Charlotte. They could go 7-1 and end up in Charlotte. Is it likely? I think it's more likely than they go below 500. Certainly, I think it's more likely than them to be 7-5. It'll be interesting to watch, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and predict the schedule here. Starts with a win over Elon. Not even going to spend a bunch of time on that. Then they go to Illinois. Or they have Illinois come into town, I'm sorry. This Illinois team is really physical. They're going to match up really well, I think, with Duke, really in every facet. This is going to be a low-scoring game. If I'm talking, we might walk away from this game 17-13, 17-10 type of battle. It's going to be physical. These are two teams that have that defense-first mentality. Brett Bielema is really good about having his teams ready for these types of knockdown, drag-out fights. And Manny Diaz has these guys ready too. It's just a matter of who's going to be better. I think Illinois, as a projected potential preseason top 10 team, I think Illinois is going to get the better of them, but it's not by much. This is going to be a fun early season battle. It's an underrated one in week 2 because you got Michigan and Oklahoma, of course, amongst some other really good matchups. This one, I think, is going to be like a sneaky top 25 matchup that nobody really sees coming. You get a road trip to Tulane to kind of get right, and I think they're going to do that. Look, I love John Summerall. I think they're going to be a good team this year. I just really buy this Duke team to not struggle with teams that they're better than. They'll get a win over NC State in terms of that similar thought process, along with this game being in Durham. Not that matters too much. It's literally a 20-minute drive from each, so maybe a little more than 20, but it's literally just up the road, so not too concerned about that one. You go on the road to Syracuse, and I've gone back and forth on this game, but here's what I've come to realize and find to be true for me. And the reason I say for me is because this is an opinion-based thing here. Like, everything else is just fact. It's what I've placed in front of you to make your own opinion on the team. The prediction is where I land on all these teams. And in my personal, humble opinion, this team, both of these teams have a similar question mark. Who's going to step at wide receiver? And I think the extra question mark that I have for Syracuse is quarterback play. I like Steve Angeli. I think he's going to be really good. But I don't know that. I can't prove that because I haven't seen him play much of any meaningful football yet. Darian Mensah I have, and I know what I'm going to get from him, or at least I know what to expect to get from him. And that quarterback difference, along with the fact that I think that Duke's defense is just a little better than Syracuse overall, will get them the win. But this is going to be a fun game too. This schedule is loaded with a lot of fun, sneaky matchups. That's one of them. They'll get a road win against Cal. I'm going out to Berkeley, getting the job done, and the battle of the brains. This is going to be a fun football game. But it is going to be Duke getting the win. It'll be 5-1 coming out of the first half. And then they get a bye week, or 2 bye weeks, as a matter of fact, that sandwich this home game against Georgia Tech, which leads me to tell you this. I think that Georgia Tech is a better team. That is why I'm predicting Georgia Tech to win. What I also believe is this team will come out of their bye weeks strong. And I don't think they're going to lose either of the games they've played by more than a score apiece. Either of the games I have predicted so far as losses by more than a score apiece. I think their margin of loss is going to come down to probably... That scared me. And here I was thinking I had that thing shut off today. I don't think their margin of loss is going to be very, very difficult. Or very much. They may lose probably by a combined 14 points at most. This Georgia Tech game could go either way. Depends on how Duke's playing. Depends on how they stack up going into this. Depends on how Georgia Tech's playing. Let's not act like they are just this unbeatable force. They are going to be a good team, but there's potential for loss there. They'll come out of another bye week to face Clemson on the road. This one I feel differently about simply because this game is being played in Clemson. I think Clemson as a whole, like you talk about size advantages, and I think Clemson is just a bigger team in the places they need it the most, specifically in the trenches. They've got one of the best defensive lines in college football. They've got a really good offensive line coming back. And then it's just skill position players and things like that just make Clemson that much better. This game is, I'm not going to say not going to be close, but it's going to be kind of a Clemson controls, gets out of there, move on. You get a chance to get right, though, after 2 straight with a win over UConn. And I think they'll get a win over Virginia, too. I'm not overly high on Virginia, but it's kind of dependent upon Chandler Morris and his play over the course of the season. You get a road trip to Chapel Hill, and this is a fun one. Tobacco Road's always a great game, and it's been good for the last probably 4 years, really. We've seen these games be super close, super fun, competitive. I feel the same way here. I think that this is going to be another really close, competitive football game. At the end of the day, I'm just trusting Duke a little more. I think specifically that defense is going to be better than UNC's defense. Be better equipped to make that one extra stop that they're going to need. But it's going to be a fun game. This is kind of another sneaky and a long list of sneaky good games for Duke to play this year. Then you get the final game of the year against Wake, and I think they'll get the win there. Closing out at 9-3, 6-2 in conference play, which is well over that over of 6.5. Which, and I'll point this out too, because usually my win totals, like my predictions, I do my win predictions before I look at over-unders, before I look at any other odds, because I don't want my opinion to be swayed by the thoughts of Vegas. I don't want my opinion to be like, or to question my own opinion before I do my research and then look back. So when it comes to this team, I sat at 9-3, went and looked at the over/under, and I was like, "There's no way in hell they go under 6.5." And if they do, Manny Diaz should be out the door. This team is too good. They are, I think, much better than a lot of the teams they're going to play here, and the teams that they're even with, they can beat. This is not a team that I think will go under on the 6.5, and if they do, I'd be very surprised. They're also in the ACC, plus 2,400. That's 6th. That is number 6 in the ACC out of 17 teams. I mean, Duke has not had that kind of hype around them ever. Plus 36,000 to win a national championship. I don't remember last time they've had odds that good. This is a fun team. I think this is a team that really has a lot of potential to be very good. I think that they have. They're not going to be a playoff team, and they're certainly not going to be a spoiler team, because I think the size lacks in the places they're going to need it the most to really compete and be a winning team against the Clemsons, the Alabamas, the Michigans, Ohio States. Like that, they're not going to be able to hang in size against those teams. But the teams that are similar, the teams that are on their playing field and on a level talent field, I think that they'll be able to get the job done. That's where I'm feeling with all of this. So let me know what you think. What do you think Duke's going to be in 2025? I think it's a really fun thing to discuss and wonder about, especially being so close. I mean, it's already middle of July, or getting close to the middle of July at least, and we've got so much more left to do and talk about. I mean, this is a really, really fun team, a really fun schedule, and I'm certainly excited for it. So make sure you all stick around, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on Duke, what I may have missed, if I missed any players that should have been mentioned. Let me know all that down below. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Tomorrow we got the TCU Horned Frogs. I'm excited. We're going to the Big 12, and this is a team that I'm very, very high on as a early slight spoiler. More so just make sure you tune in, because I've got a lot to say about this TCU team. So again, I thank you all for tuning in. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you tomorrow with the TCU Horned Frogs.